Hello, my name is Davis Ellison, a strategic analyst here at the Hague Center for Strategic Studies, and I am joined today by Sarah Grand-Clément from UNIDIR as part of the Hague Strategic Foresight Forum talks. Sarah, welcome to the Hague.
Thank you for having me.
So today's talks are all about foresight and thinking about the future, and you wrote an excellent report for the UN on exactly that topic. So I wondered if, particularly from the UN's institutional perspective, if you could just give us a little bit of insight as to what that report found.
Sure. So this report was created by the UN Institute for Disarmament Research, and therefore it took a very much disarmament and arms control lens. We were interested in understanding what is the future of international security and what does it mean for the future of arms control and disarmament. We specifically took the year 2045 because it's the UN's 100th anniversary. So that was like a good goal point to focus on. What does it mean when the UN turns 100? Where are we at with arms control and disarmament? And we essentially wanted to understand what might the world look like, and therefore within that, these different futures, what does arms control look like, and what do we need to prepare for?
Interesting, and I wonder what some of those, particularly when we think of, rivalries between some of the larger UN member states, what does arms control start to look like in that context?
So we developed 5 scenarios. The 2 were more extreme. So one was very positive. It's called a modern utopia. It's where we have different spheres of influence, but who get along really well. We manage to work together to solve our challenges. So the name says it all, modern utopia. And then on the flip side, we have the worst case scenario, which we call paradise lost. And that's pretty much the opposite, where it's completely disjointed, conflict reigns, we can't agree on anything, there's no governance of weapons whatsoever, we haven't addressed these global issues such as climate change. And then we have 3 middle scenarios. And these show a bit more of a mixed picture. So some things are a bit better, some things are a bit worse. Sometimes there might be 2 spheres of influence, there might be multiple spheres of influence. And one of them we have actually the states lose their predominance in international relations, supplanted by private sector actors. So we explored different versions of what the future might look like. And within that, what does that mean for arms control? And ultimately, what we found is the relevance of the UN is extremely important to ensure that we can have this platform for dialogue that remains in place, and have these discussions and have this kind of governance that is set to include all member states. Sure, and I'm curious what some of the possibly adaptations for the UN to think about going forward are in that context. What can UNIDIR, other organizations within the UN structure, how can they think about their own structure and role going forward? Absolutely. We did develop close to 70 pathways to action. So basically for each of the threats that we identified, we then try to see, okay, what can we do about this now? So this could be awaiting us in the future, and what are the actions that we need to take now to prepare for those future threats? And also, not just the threats, but if there are opportunities, how can we leverage these and use these to our benefit? So there's a huge range of, we call them pathways to action. We didn't name them recommendations because they're kind of the step before. But essentially, these are elements that could be then developed by UN member states, by the UN itself, different UN entities, civil society actors, private sector entities. So there's a range of actors who could undertake these, and they really cover such a broad spectrum. I can't go through the list of the close to 70, but really big, from kind of addressing non-traditional threats to security, to ensuring that the UN maintains its relevance in the future, to ensuring that the disarmament arms control machinery remains relevant and useful for the benefit of all. Sure, and I suppose a closing question will be, as you were looking across these trends, and especially on particular areas of technology, what were some of the things that were the most concerning when you looked into that 2045 time frame? That's a good question, and it's also a very difficult one to answer because depending on the perspective, the backgrounds of the people, their areas of expertise, what they felt was of greatest importance would differ. And that is also why our expert group and the people that we engaged throughout the study, we had nearly 100 different stakeholders involved. We try to get them from all different backgrounds and expertise, regional groups, etc., to make sure that these different perspectives were represented. So depending on who you ask, the answer would be very different indeed. And that's probably why the report showcases such a broad range of threats, but also pathways to kind of overcoming these threats.
Well, that is absolutely a very interesting report. We look forward to seeing it reflected here in this event and, of course, your views, and we're very happy to have you here in The Hague. So thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to a great panel.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great.